This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstein Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 5, Episode 37, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the mighty Hogstein Network on audio and here on YouTube on video. Well, Matt, let's just start the show again the same way. Hey, they won again.
They won again. 4 in a row.
Four straight. Yeah, you had to hold your breath at the end. I couldn't believe Bobby McCain covered that pass deep. You know, they prevented a touchdown. That was a great cover on that particular play. And they held up and did it and won 17-15 for the second straight week, which is, I think they had something about no team has ever done that. Such a weird score. You know, off the street, kicks a field goal. And I don't know, the defense is now playing, like it's supposed to. And suddenly they're 6-6 and just what they wanted. Now you play 5 NFC East teams and you control your destiny if you can do something big here.
Rick, I think the biggest thing is you pointed at the defense. This is a defense that gave up 30 points to Atlanta, gave up 29 points to the Giants, and we just squeaked out wins barely. This is a defense that since the bye has given up 19, 21, 15, and 15. And that's against Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, and Cam Newton. 2 of those guys are former MVPs. You know what I mean? It's like the change. We talked about it last week. Everybody thought the loss of Sweat and Young was just going to be the major downfall of this defense, and they've played so much better. And then to go out last night and not have Landon Collins, who we've really been talking about a lot since he made the transfer to linebacker / safety. He's trying to kind of replicate what we saw with Seattle with Jamal Adams. It's amazing to me. Once again this year, they're doing it with a bunch of no names. Obviously Bobby McCann's been around. We know him from Miami, but once again, it's your Cam Curls. DeShazer Everett was out there again. It's all these guys that don't get a lot of shine when it comes to the national media out there making plays again.
Yeah, I mean, when they do Pro Bowl voting, which ends in about a week, there's nobody on this defense going to sniff it. And, I don't know if anybody really deserves it. Maybe Jonathan Allen could be an alternate or something. I mean, there's so many good D linemen in the league. It's hard to say that. But, they've just played so much better when you didn't expect them to against mostly good teams. But, did it last year too. And for all the coaches who want to say, well, we finally got them in there. Dude, you can't take credit for good coaching at 2-6 both years. Good coaching, get you a little closer. But and offensively, they played well enough, and they've had some injuries. And man, that losing Logan Thomas really hurt because you saw what he could do in that first quarter. He catches that touchdown. I was like, that's what they've been missing. And then he didn't tear his ACL. They said today that it's not as bad as they thought, but he won't play the rest of the season. If he had torn ACL, he would have missed the beginning of next season. So the good news is he probably won't miss any of next year. But Ricky Seals-Jones will be coming back, so that'll help them a little. Bates has looked good there. I don't know, I like the depth that they had entering the season, and that's really helped them a lot.
I've really been impressed with John Bates. You brought up John Bates. I really like his game. He's he was primarily drafted to be a blocking tight end because you had Logan as a catcher, as a ball catcher. You had Ricky Seals-Jones, who can kind of do both as a veteran. But, John Bates has really shown flashes here and there. But going back to the defense, man, I mean, Daniel Wise, where did that guy come from? I know he's on the practice squad, but he was out there making plays. And, Rick, I'll be honest with you. Yesterday was the best game I've seen Jamin Davis play this season. I know he's always been highly rated on PFF every Tuesday, but you gotta, there's an eye test and then there's a numbers test. He's passed the numbers test with PFF, but he's never really passed the eye test when it comes to me and a lot of other fans. But yesterday was probably we saw what he was hyped up to be. He was flying all around. Now, he missed a lot of tackles at the beginning. The whole team missed tackles at the beginning of the game, but he was flying around. He was where he was supposed to be, and we saw his speed and we saw his range. And that's what a first-round linebacker is supposed to be. So, maybe it's a turn the corner type game for him as well, and it's going to boost his confidence. But I'm going to tell you right now, we'll talk about going into Dallas. You've got to get Landon Collins back, because they were, we saw it at the beginning. They were targeting Hunter Renfrow like crazy, and he's being covered by a linebacker. That is a mismatch and a half. That's where Landon comes into play. Yes, he's quote unquote a linebacker, but he's still built like a safety. He's still built to cover. And, that guy has become a pivotal part in the middle of this defense that we need back.
Yeah, it's funny. Rivera was talking about, Montez Sweat might be back for this next game. And I felt like saying, well, that's okay. Haven't really missed him. So, if he's not really ready, I can't imagine a broken jaw and you get hit like you get hit here. Whew, you better have some painkillers on that, baby.
Yeah.
But they talked about it. I think he and Collins should be available. There was no word on J.D. McKissick, strangely enough. He had a concussion, so maybe he'll be eligible. He will be eligible if he's good enough now.
Yeah, that's another guy that they need. We saw the offense struggle a little bit after that opening touchdown drive. That's where JD comes into play. I like Jarrett Patterson, don't get me wrong, and we saw a little bit of Wendell Smallwood, but they don't fill that JD McKissick role. McKissick's role is that third down back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can make your plays for you. And, we've seen with Scott Turner's offense over the past couple of weeks, it's a lot of not necessarily dinking and dunking, but he's fitting Taylor's strong suit, which we all know Taylor doesn't have the strongest arm, so they're not really going downfield as much. It's more that intermediate passing, and JD is lethal in that, because JD can take a 5-yard pass and turn it into a 35-yard touchdown. We've seen it. We saw it against Atlanta earlier this year. We've seen it in the past with him on this team, and that's an element of this offense that's been missing. But look, you can't really knock them too much, man. They won. They did the hard thing on a short week. They went out to Las Vegas, put all those distractions aside of being in Vegas, and they went out there and they won. I mean, I know everybody's going to want to talk about officiating. Yeah, the officiating sucked, but it sucked for both sides. There were unnecessary calls by both on both sides. So that's a null and void conversation.
Yeah, it was real interesting. I never got a feel for how many Washington fans were out there, but there were a ton. And
it was loud. It was loud when they were on defense.
I mean, I just saw so many pictures of people out there. I laughed. It was like they all came back early this morning. Said, "Oh yeah, Atlanta's 6. I'll be at work." I was like, "Yeah, they haven't slept in 2-3 days. They're gonna put in a leave card." That's if they've sobered up yet. I mean, because I used to be on those midnight flights out of Vegas. I can tell you, everybody's drunk. Midnight at Vegas hotel at the Vegas airport, just like noon in Grand Central Station out there. And then, people were always, just drunk and been partying for so long, and they just go on the plane, try and sleep going home. But I'm glad the fans got us. It's more like going on vacation. And I worried about the media corps after seeing some of what those guys were up to. I thought, God, we're never getting these guys back. I mean, I joked to Pete. Pete walked to the game, and I was like, geez, you lose all your money? You got to walk to the game? But he was at a hotel, so I guess he just did that. I mean, it's a great location for it, too. So it's just funny that the NFL has barred gambling and anything involved with it for so long, and now it's got both arms around it, hugging it. But Vegas is a great place for them because everybody's visiting fans will want to go to Vegas as a road. Yeah, how much money did Washington people drop in Vegas this past week? Probably huge.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, obviously the Raiders are an established team, but they bounced around between Oakland and Los Angeles for how many years? And now it's the first football team to be in Las Vegas. They were already at a disadvantage because, a lot of Raiders fans were going to be pissed that they were moving out of California. It's not like when the Golden Knights started. The Golden Knights were fresh. They were not an established franchise. The Raiders were an established franchise with a long storied history and Super Bowl wins, And a lot of people, like I remember Chargers fans. I know a couple Chargers fans that were pissed when they left San Diego for LA and gave up their fandom, you know? So you have a pretty ideal situation like you talked about, because like what Washington football team's fans did this weekend, you make a whole weekend out of it. You get out there on Thursday, you party Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you go to the game, you catch a red eye home Sunday, you sleep it off Monday, and you're back to work Tuesday. You're only burning 2 or 3 days of PTO, and you get to go out to Vegas and have a good time and get to see your team win. I mean, you know, it's not always going to be a guaranteed win because the Raiders are going to be pretty good, I'm sure, but yeah, I mean, it's an ideal situation for the NFL, and it's an ideal city that I'm glad that they finally embraced the gambling aspect of this. You know, Vegas, the Golden Knights were the test market, obviously, to see if they could establish the fandom. And I wouldn't be surprised to see an NBA team move out there. They have their summer leagues in Las Vegas. They've had an all-star game in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to end up having eventually all 4 big sports out in Vegas, because it's a market. It's a market for not only the team that lives there and that plays out of there, but it's also for other fans, you know, fans of other teams to be a destination. It's a win-win for the city and for the franchise. Yeah,
baseball would be a tough one. They have a AAA, and I went by the field one time, and it's a ghost town because it's 110 degrees.
You make a dome, build a dome.
Yeah, you're going to have to. You'd have to. Mm-hmm. That's a wants to expand.
An interesting thing I heard about Allegiant Stadium, and I know we were talking about stadiums before we got on. The cool thing about what they were talking about with Allegiant is, yeah, it's a natural grass surface on top, but they said like 5 inches underneath that. Basically, it's kind of like Arizona, where you can roll away the natural, and if like UNLV wants to play on carpet, it's there. So it's a remarkable stadium, and it looked beautiful on TV.
I'm sure the next Washington Stadium will be just as good, if not better.
Hopefully, Virginia taxpayers will be paying for it.
I hope so. Before we go, Kentucky Derby winner Medina Spirit died today. Just dropped dead on the track when a morning jog. Whoa, what the hell was that? That happened. The last time that happened was 1984 or 83. It was Swale. I think it was 84. Swale died a couple months later. And I don't know. Horses die of heart attacks. It's a little different than a humankind, but it does happen. But then again, this is Bob Baffert's horse, who's been accused of doping in the Derby. And I thought, wow, you know, I defended Baffert for so long, and nobody wants to get a Derby horse killed, because you know it's millions of dollars we're laying on that track.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be done at some point. You know, I mean, that's tens of millions of dollars. But what a shocking moment for all of that. I just can't believe he finished third in the Preakness. And he was going to run soon again. It's just one of those things you scratch your head at and just can't believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we got to be out of here. See, you talk hockey, I talk horses.
I'm
Rick.
I'm Matt.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.